Happy Thursday.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Going good. Sorry about yourself, brother. How you doing today?
Oh, doing all right. We had a pretty warm, unseasonably so day here today. It was 77 degrees out as a high today, which is bizarre because by Tuesday, when all the kids are doing trick-or-treating, the high is down to like 52 again.
It's about normal. See, it was like 70 like 2 days ago. Yesterday, it rained its ass off. Today's our first freeze of the year. Now they're talking snow tomorrow. What in the hell happened?
Well, you must be sending your snow our way because they're saying we're going to get like mixed snow and rain showers on Wednesday.
Nice. Okay, well, that works.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, my thing just decided to go stupid. So, okay, yeah. Kick is not going to work. So, Kick's not working. We'll ignore Kick for today. We tried it. Didn't work. It failed. So,
Kick kicked you out?
Yeah, Kick done kicked me out. Brewster, good to see you, brother. Says, I'm working, I'm here, I'm ready. Yeah. Man, I love that attitude.
There you go.
Oh, fancy new graphics. You got fancy graphics? What did I miss?
I don't know. Maybe it's just been a while since you tuned in.
That's kind of what I'm wondering. It's like, because, yeah, we did change some of the topping, a few things over time, but I think we're pretty much the same as last week. So, brother, sounds like you got some catching up to do. So, want to say hi to everybody out there. Let us know where you're watching from today. And as always, hit the thumbs up. Tell your friends about us because we're always trying to give you great content. So, Cyril, now this week has been weird, buddy. First of the week was amazing. I mean, the charts were just going up. Oh, my God. And then, of course, Bloody Thursday comes into play. What in the hell is with Thursdays, my man?
See, I told you a couple episodes ago that, the markets always seem to want to pull back on a Thursday. But right now, over the last hour or so, they've been recovering the dip from today. I know our portfolio is doing well. I know my portfolio is doing well. Hopefully yours is too. And that you've been taking advantage of what we've been teaching here and making your DCAs throughout the course of the bear market. A lot of people in the crypto space are buying when they see a big pump like that. And so they catch a lot less of that growth, and then they wind up being in the red when it has a little pullback. Meanwhile, all of you who've been following along, you've been doing your DCAs with us throughout the bear market. And, if you've been following the same stuff that we've been doing, then you're up like 4.19% since last episode. So
nice. Almost 5%, man. That's pretty sexy right there. I don't care who you are.
Yep, 5% a week.
Yeah, you got banks don't even give you 5% in a year, or like 3 years, really. I mean, honestly. So that's insane. That's 1 week. So, yeah, people who think that crypto doesn't have the capability to earn, and there you go, almost 5% in 1 week. Show me a bank anywhere out there that's going to give you that.
Exactly.
So, I want to give a shout out here. We got Chrome in the house. Welcome, brother. Good to have you. And yeah, the countdown. It says, I'll be your best solo watcher. That's okay. Hey, you know what? We get a lot of people come back and watch later on because either they're working, they're sleeping, and that's a great thing. We just want to put the information out there. Make sure you guys got it. So whenever you are ready to jump in and start to learn, it's always there. So we're going to keep pushing out to you.
Well, it's I just want to say hi to Chrome. It's fitting that he's listening in because of some of the things that we'll get to later in the show.
Ooh, interesting. Okay. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Got it. Okay. So, of course, this is where I always start asking questions and things like that. Now, new investor, we talked about this a few weeks ago. Somebody's just getting started. They're putting a couple bucks in. We talked about that. Okay, Coinbase maybe not be the best bet, but at least it's a start. If you're going to start somewhere, a few bucks in Coinbase isn't a bad beginning. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's my question. So I was looking at Coinbase today, and here's a screenshot here. Now, when you go in there and you start looking at it, it shows you the prices and stuff. Now, it gives you these options. Like for Ethereum, it says it's going to give you 3.1% APY to lock stake it in there. And down here, Solana gives you 5.01% APY to lock stake in there. Now, this is where it really gets interesting because if Coinbase is a good place, then are we saying that those are good platforms to lock stake your tokens into?
So remember, we've discussed this before, where if you have a smaller portfolio, it's not necessarily a good idea to be lock staking your assets, right? Because you need to have that flexibility. You need to have that speed of liquidity. And you can't have either of those if your money is locked for a specified period of time. Staking on Coinbase is lock oriented, so you're going to be locking your funds for quite some time. And that's really not the way to go with a smaller portfolio. 3% APY. The kicker to remember with whenever that's a Y at the end instead of an R, that's assuming that you're taking all the rewards that you earn and restaking it. So you're compounding, right? So if you just put $100 in there, you're not going to have $3.11 in gain by the end of the year unless you're taking every reward they pay you and relocking it to compound your position. So the actual earning that you would be getting off of $100 locked is not $3.11. It's significantly lower than that because you're not compounding it, right? That's a common thing a lot of people fall for. They see a high APY and they're like, oh, wow, 140% APY. That's awesome. I put in $100 at the end of the year, I'll have 240. No, you won't. Not unless you're constantly taking the rewards that they give you, buying more of it and restaking it, So that's the common misconception. If you're looking for some kind of yield farming, look for the APRs, because that's what it would be if you're not sitting there compounding it.
Okay, so that's more the organic growth as an APR, where an APY is literally you're manufacturing the growth by always putting it back.
Yeah, it's like if you got an apple tree that yields 2 tons of fruit over the course of a harvest season, but you spend all the profit and all the fruit planting more trees, right? Instead of actually eating the apples.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. And that's fair. And Crump says exciting. Yes. Very exciting stuff. But that's one thing I want to cover because when I was looking through it just to check prices today, I saw that. It's like, you know what? I don't think we've ever discussed this factor, this option out there. And there's a big misconception, like you said, about the APY versus APR. Now, is there ever a good time an APY is better than an APR?
I mean, compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world, right? So with things like dividend stocks or fiat that you're not looking to use for quite some time, then APY is great. If you can actively set it and forget it and it will auto compound for you, that's one thing. If it won't auto compound, well, then you're going to have to stay on top of it. It's a lot of work. If adding to your position that staking doesn't create a new lock, otherwise you wind up with all the funds that you're adding also being locked. If you can just add to the current lock, that way it all expires at the same time, then that's okay, but otherwise you're just making it take even longer before you actually get anything, right? Because the money that they're giving you, you're putting a new time lock on and restaking it. Like this is no.
It's like a payday loan that you never pay back. You just keep paying interest on it. Same game.
Yeah, essentially. And that's, So look for your APRs. Don't worry too much about APYs. They're really not going to matter to you. APYs, those kind of numbers are what a lot of DeFi projects use to sucker people in, right? You'll see, 3,000% APY if I'm supplying liquidity to this pool that they're paying out their native DEX token. Well, guess what? That native DEX token is going to get sold into oblivion as people are getting it for rewards, and you're not really going to have much by the end of it. So, just be aware of that. If you're looking at APYs and there's some crazy percentage, pretty much anything over 100% APY, 200% APY in that range. Anything over that is they're trying to rope you in with big numbers. So you put the money there. And yes, mathematically, that may be what those numbers are, but it ignores all the other factors, like price depreciation from an emitting asset to price fluctuations. So just keep that all in mind.
Right. And so, that's great. I'm glad we covered that because that is one thing that, especially with the DeFi world starting to wake up, as I've noticed, I'm starting to hear more and see more of the APYs coming around. It's like, oh, we're going to give you this and this and this. And now you made a comment just a second ago. I definitely want to take a moment to talk about this. So when we're talking about receiving a project's token as rewards, now oftentimes those have to be minted or created or added to, yet there's nothing on that other side of that liquidity pool to bolster it up, right? So essentially you're adding tokens, but not adding dollars for value. So it's kind of like a slow bleed to death, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's inflation, and because we've discussed how liquidity pools work before, right? So if you have your liquidity pool, you got $100,000 paired to 100,000 tokens, that token's worth $1, right? But of course, that'll start skewing as people are either buying or selling. But what happens if now all of a sudden, over the course of paying out rewards or whatnot, you've got 200,000 tokens in circulation? You've got 100,000 in the LP, but you got 200,000 in circulation. As those people start selling it into the LP, there's not more money coming in, right? They're just selling the tokens, which is diluting the valuation of those tokens, especially as they're taking money out, because now you've got, say 50%, comes in. Now you got 200,000 tokens in the LP with only 50,000 USD, just that kind of skew. So it is inflation. It's just as bad as when the US is printing, money and are inflating our dollar supply by 24% in a year. Like, it's inflation. And at some point, people aren't going to be able to cash out to the level that they're expecting.
Right. And that's one thing. I know a lot of people, especially getting into DeFi, they get, I don't want to say tricked into it. They don't comprehend exactly how the protocol is running or built. And so they look at, yes, if I put in 1,000 tokens today, 6 weeks from now, I'll have 2,000 tokens out of rewards. And so I double my money, right? No, that's not the way it works, guys. So we want to make sure you are well educated on that before you ever do that.
Absolutely. Because, that's the kind of stuff that a lot of people, when they first come into DeFi, fall for. Realistically, they fall for that. And it's that common fallacy is what a lot of DeFi projects actually thrive on, is taking advantage of the fact that people really don't understand how that all works. And so they buy into it. They're like, oh, that's awesome. When we hit this price, I'll have, $20 million off of my $2,000 investment. Well, that's the problem. So will everyone else, right?
Well, there's not that much liquidity. This doesn't work mathematically.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And, that price goes up faster and faster as there's less and less tokens in the pool due to price impact. But conversely, as those tokens start coming back in from people selling, especially if they were printing more out of thin air through APRs or, staking pools, then when some people sell, because it's inflated tokens, now your price will do nothing but just creep its way down over time. You see that, go look at any project that does rebases or did rebases, and you'll see it very clearly in the chart on the daily time frame. They shot up. That's when everyone was buying in because they're still like, 99,000% in a year, I'm gonna buy it, right? I'll be a millionaire by the end of the year. So will everyone else. They're all getting free tokens, essentially. And so the only people that win in that kind of scenario, as the chart's going up, are the ones that sell and dump the chart back down. And then from there, the chart will just kind of do one of these numbers all the way down until it finds its new floor. And if they printed 3 times the amount of tokens that there were in circulation in the beginning, then that floor should be right around, a third of the price, of what it was at launch.
Exactly. And and that's a great point. That's something I know I've done it. I was lured in a couple years ago, a long time ago. I was seeing those insane APYs and oh my God, this is amazing. I was getting all excited. I'm like, okay, I'm going to make 2,000 tokens per day and they cost this much today. But I didn't see the long picture. I wasn't educated enough to understand. That sounds really great today. But when you really look at the grand scheme of it, it's just bleeding to death. Everybody's getting those today. So there's not that much money. And the only money there is in the project is what the next guy is putting in. And so oftentimes, if we aren't the very first one in and the very first one out, usually, we are the exit liquidity of someone who is quicker or faster or smarter than we.
Yep. Now, you can win on protocols like that, right? So, but it's not the mechanics of the token that's making you money, right? You need to essentially outmaneuver the general sentiment. If you can do that, you can make a lot of money in those kind of projects. There was one project I hopped in. It was a rebase project, but it was pretty hyped. A lot of people in there don't really understand how rebases and all that kind of stuff works. And they were all talking about, when I have, FU money, this is what I'm going to do, right? And so when the Discords are all talking about what they're going to do with all their money, okay, I can make some money in here, right? Because they're all in dreamland. It's great they got dreams, but we're here to make money, right? Not dream about it. We're here to make it.
Right.
So when you see communities like that, it's worth it tossing a couple bucks in there. You just need to be smart. While everyone else is holding to the moon, collecting all of their rebases or whatever is being paid out, whether it's staking profits in more tokens, what you need to be doing is you need to be actively selling that as it comes in. If you think that if everyone's talking about this going to let's say it launched at 0.5 of a cent, right? And everyone's talking about, when this gets to $1, when this gets to $1, I personally would be looking at selling around 10 cents. And that's when I would be dumping everything. Because if everyone's talking about it reaching $1, but it started way down here at 0.5 of a cent, it's not going to get there, right? And there's going to be a point where they're in so much profit that there's going to be people who start selling big chunks of it. And what do people do in the markets? But fear. They will panic, sell, and then it cascades down from there, right? So I'm going to significantly undercut what their whole community is saying it's going to go to. That way I'm out with proper profits, because everything hasn't been diluted yet. And then they're the ones trying to catch the falling knife, trying to sell before the next guy.
Gotcha. Okay. And I'm kind of like Chrome on this. Back in the last bull market, there were so many projects all promoting tens or hundreds of thousands of % APY, and that's what suckered me in. Lesson learned real quick. Man, I'm with you there, Chrome. I did the same thing. I was all excited telling the family about it. In fact, we had a chat about it the other day, and I want to say howdy to Funny Toro before I jump my story here. Welcome, Funny Toro. But I was talking to wife the other day, and I'm like, you don't get very excited about this. Well, what's going on? It's like, unfortunately, from years back when you first got into it, you were hyped. Things were looking great. We did all these classes, everything, and nothing ever came to fruition. So I don't want to get my hopes up. And at first I kind of took that as a sucker punch, like, oh man, so you're not supporting me. But then I realized, what? It takes a special level of crazy to get knocked down repeatedly and keep getting back up. So I just marked that up to me being insane, or her probably being wise enough to avoid getting punched. So like, nah, crypto's beating hell out of you, man, but you're dumb enough to keep standing up. But I think there's a lot of people like that, like myself, that went through that feeling in the beginning. We felt that a lot of people were afraid of it. They just ran away and forgot all about it. But if they're starting to look back into this, what would you advise them? What would be the first piece of advice you could give somebody who went through that pain scenario and is coming back into it now?
Learn from it. That's the best way to sum up what I'm about to say. So you don't start making good decisions when you're born, right? You don't start making good decisions usually as a kid. Even as a teenager, in fact, you revert and you make even dumber decisions.
Yeah.
That is all because you can't make good decisions until you've had experience. And you can't get experience until you've made bad decisions, right? That's just how life is. And that's how it will continue to be, right? So, yeah, you got suckered in through lack of understanding about something before you bought it. You got burnt, right?
Right.
So learn from that and really research into how the ecosystem works, how the liquidity pools work, how DeFi works, right? Like, know that stuff, then start investing, right? You jumped in, water was way too hot, you got burnt, jump back out. Are you going to just jump into the pool the next time, or are you going to feel it first? Are you going to research what kind of temperature is this? What am I getting into, right? You have that caution. But the good thing about caution is that it is one part to something that is very important as an investor, is to be cautiously optimistic.
I like that. That sounds good. Okay. And yeah, because I know a lot of people like Chrome, like myself, that went through that experience. I'm sure you've heard a million horror stories. But a lot of these people run away and never look back. And I don't think that the masses of those people, yes, they got burned, and I'm sorry it happened. We've all I consider it a rite of passage personally. But I don't think a lot of them realize what's going on in the financial world and how this world is truly evolved to the next generation, if you will. And so I'm afraid that these people that got burnt, 2-3 years ago, they're going to wake up in a few years from now and they're going to say, wait, what do you mean you don't take paper anymore and I have to pay in crypto? What scenario. But I don't think they realize just how quickly this is evolving.
Yeah, and the speed at which things are evolving is increasing.
Right.
Like, how long did it take us to go from using, shaped stones as a form of currency to using certain precious metals? How long did it take us to go from carting around pouches of gold coins and treasure chests, to utilizing paper notes? And then how rapidly did we go from paper notes to digital banking? Like, the time in between these progressions is shrinking, and is shrinking at a faster and faster rate. So yeah, it's very likely that a lot of people who got burnt said, screw this, left and just went back to their normal whatever, are going to wake up one day and realize that they're now that older generation that people would make fun of for not knowing how to use a computer. Right?
Yeah.
It can happen to you just as fast as that. Back when computers first came out, the general sentiment was nobody's going to have these. They're too expensive. They're too big. It's too slow. It's too clunky. I can use an abacus to calculate out, a simple math problem faster than using a computer, but it's that sort of lack of forward thinking that caused them to not know how to use computers, right? Well, we're standing on the change of the beginning of an era of change, as so often comes through humanity. And that era is a change of currency, really. And, switching over to digital banking, realistically, how many people use cash these days? Everyone
Not very many.
swipes a card or taps their phone or whatever it is they do, right?
Right.
It's a very fast change, and there is not much of a difference between that and blockchain cryptos.
No.
There's not much of a difference. The only difference is this is a lot harder to manipulate because it's all public record. Meanwhile, over here with digital banking, the banks, you go to get a loan, they just print the money out of thin air, give it to you, and then they make money by you paying interest on this imaginary money, and then they get rid of the imaginary money as you pay it off. So it's like, that's even more manipulatable than blockchain currency. So it's the next logical transition.
No, and I'd agree. And it's funny because I think we've all talked to those people that we mentioned cryptocurrency in meeting with their eyes crossed, like, back, demon, back. But those are the ones that they're going to wake up tomorrow and go, wait, what do you mean I have to have a digital wallet of some sort to get this next car loan or to get, how else are you going to pay for it? How can we guarantee the payments are dead? It's like, oh, whoa, wait. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but man, a little bit of forward thinking, it's going to happen quicker than people think.
Yep, absolutely.
So I had one other topic I want to cover real quick. And as you guys can tell, this is all about trying to educate and get rid of the fears that some might be experiencing because the markets are warming up. Things are waking up, guys. And if you are not actively learning, growing, just widening your vision right now, you are going to be left behind. I mean, we all talked about the guy who paid, 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas. We look at him now like, God, you are such an idiot. How do you think that dude feels? But
he says regret it. I think he's lying.
I think he's lying too. But the funny part is we all utilize that as, oh, that was just stupid. Yet I challenge you here. If you are still utilizing that, but yet you are not actively participating, growing, and learning, you're just as dumb as he is, if not more so, because we're here to tell you how to do it, to hold your hand, to guide you, and you're still refusing to. Had you gone back and shown today the price of Bitcoin to the dude with the pizzas, he never would have done it. Yet I'm showing it to you today, and you're still not doing it. Well, now you're actively denying it. So, yeah, I don't know.
just to piggyback on that, Imagine that you're in a Facebook Messenger group, right? And Bitcoin's sitting there happily at like $12,000 per coin. And the person who created that group says, hey, you should sell it. It's going to crash down to around 4,500. And you're like, And so you hold it and it crashes down to 4,500 and you freak out and you sell it. And you're one of the reasons why it briefly dipped down to like 3,500. Then that same guy in the group, when Bitcoin's at 9,600, says, hey, by the way, this is going to 55K because of XYZ. And you still didn't do it. And prior to all of that, the guy in the group was like, hey, by the way, the Dow is going to be crashing between 35 to 60%. And then the Dow crashes 36%, right? And then he tells you to buy Bitcoin and you still don't do it, right? So like literally handing that, they still didn't do it. So ultimately it's, while we hope that you listen and educate yourself and start doing it, we understand that can't force anybody to. Ultimately, the impetus is on your shoulders.
Absolutely. And I think that's very important to think is, and always guys, never do it because we say to, please. All we want to force you to do is learn. That's what we really want to twist your arm to do. If I could do anything at all, it's to get you to learn one more thing about what's coming on your own. Literally. It's not to go buy this, go buy that. No, I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you to wake up and learn something new because, man, the future's coming. And if you're not learning as you're going, you're going to get steamrolled. It's going to be ugly. And let's see, Rooster says, this sounds very specific. It does, Rooster. I was thinking the same thing myself. Cyril, you got something you want to tell us, buddy?
Yeah, it was very specific. Prior to me hopping on Discord, I ran a trading teaching group on Facebook Messenger, right? Hell, I even publicly posted on my Facebook prior to the Dow's crash about I think it was 8 months prior to the Dow's crash. I said, hey, it's going to go up between 12 to 18%, and then it's going to crash, right? Anybody can call for a crash. Right. Cry wolf until the wolf shows up at some point. But I said publicly on Facebook, I was like, it's going to go up 12 to 18%, and then it's going to crash. It's going to be brutal. I called on the post for triple increase in homelessness, unemployment. And if you look, unemployment 3x during COVID. But yeah, I posted all that publicly, and they didn't listen. Yeah.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. And, that brings up the next topic. And I'll keep it short because I know it's time for a dance off, but I want to cover this one last point. Because a lot of people feel that they're too late. Because we go back in time just a little bit, we were sitting here at Bitcoin at 16,000? 15, 16, right in there?
Are you talking about the local low?
Yeah, local low.
Local low was 17.8.
17.8. Okay. So back then, a lot of people, if you think back, it's going to go down to 10. It's going to go down to 12. No, don't buy now. Don't buy now. Then it started going back up. And so now we're at that point where it's almost double, right? It's getting close to that double point. So people are like, oh, well, shit, it's already 2x. Why should I even bother? I'm too late. What would you say to somebody who has that mentality?
Um, trying to figure out how to word it nicely. Um, so, sorry, I had a brain fart right there.
I could tell.
Yeah, sorry about that. So it's not really ever too late per se. You just don't want to be buying at the top, right? So when you have pullbacks like we had, that's a good time to buy. I mean, we went from 65, 68,000 or something, or whatever the top was. I don't know. I sold before then. I sold at 58,000. So like after that, I didn't care.
Right.
But when you fall from that to that, people are always going to doomsay. Just like in the DeFi communities when they're talking about, oh, it's going to go to $1. And so we sell before 10K, right? If everyone's saying this is going to 12K, when you get a sharp drop like that, and then it very quickly V's, even partially back up, that's telling you there's a lot of buying support there. They may all be calling for 12K, but just like you're going to undercut when you're trying to sell, and they're all talking, it's going to go up here, you undercut it, uppercut the buy, right? So if they're saying it's going to go to 12, then be interested in it anytime it's like near in between 10 and 20, so 17, great time, 18, great time, 19, great time, because that's comparatively from the high to what they're all saying it's going to go to, comparatively, you're close to it.
Right.
So it's a good time to accumulate. Okay,
so even though we're not right at the bottom, it's still a good time to start DCing in, even if it's day one. And as we know, Bitcoin is like the OG Mac Daddy. I highly doubt it's going to go anywhere, fall away, but it's not going to zero out. Am I saying it's going to go to the moon? No. What I'm saying is it's probably one of your safest bet in crypto anywhere, I think.
Yeah, and you got to think we're at what, 34K? People all across the DeFi space have been saying for quite some time, oh, next bull run, it's going to go to, 200,000. I've heard a lot of them say between 200,000 and 500,000 is what they're calling for the next run. My target where I would start selling is going to be in the 150 to 180 region, right? Because that's undercutting what they're saying. So, if you're down here at 34, and that they're all saying 200, that's the general sentiment. Play the sentiment. It's still a good time to grab some to sell by 150. That's solid profit right there. Let's dance off.
Let's do a dance off. Exactly. Okay, so we got a few more voters today, and let's see if any comments came in. Okay, no more comments coming. You guys are being really quiet today. It's kind of creepy. But guys, as always, the polls have been open since first thing this morning, so go in. Cast your votes now, and I will put the invite link. It's in the description down below for Down Home Crypto Discord, and I will paste it here in the chat momentarily. But as always, that gives you an entry into the dance off.
The dance off,
baby. J-Steen, just in time to dance, baby. Now, guys, the rules are really simple. If you win the dance off, you must DM me before the end of the stream. If you don't, then you are voiding out your wins to the next week's winner. So it gets added to the next week and rolls into it. So that's why you got to be here watching. Okay, so let's see who we have today. We are going to do the dance off, the standard. And our voters this week are Chrome, Sandwar, Rooster, John Richter, Funny Toro, BTK, Mercies. Welcome. That's a new name. I love to see it. Cheetos, J-Steed, Hope Giver, Rosalind. Good to see you, Ross. And of course, guys, as you always know, Serenity plus 10. If I win the first dance off, I add $10 and we go again. If I win the second one, we add another 10, we go again. Then I get to tell the wife, she gets hurt me.
Yeah, I'm still hoping for the day where you win like twice in a row. That'd be great.
I think it'd be a blast.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's a little quieter, I think, because I know BTK is not in audience at the moment. I think he's at dinner with his parents. But I'll see him later tonight, so I'll be sure to kick him in the knee.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Yes, and one in the shin for me.
Okay, I can do that. I can do that.
All right.
Does anybody else who's listening have a request for where they'd like me to kick BTK?
And then give him a big hug.
Maybe. Depends on how much he's crying after I'm done with all the kicks.
He's a skinny guy. He'll probably be crying quite a bit. I don't know. Yeah, he doesn't look like he can take a beating. It's hard to say. Okay. Are we ready? In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Big money, no Emmys.
Day itself. Hey, you remembered to share the music this time.
Did see? Oh, ow. JC,
wow.
Rooster, and John. Don't. Serenity's still there. Ooh.
There goes
BTK. See, there you go. The blade just kicked him too. Awesome. And I died. Sorry, guys. I can't win this time. Cheetos. Bye, Cheetos. Oh, mercy. Mercs won. Sorry, Mercs won. Sorry, Mercs. Hey, got 4 left.
Oh,
it's down between Rose and Hope Giver.
Ooh.
That should be close.
Oh, no.
Oh, Rose, I'm sorry.
Oh, congratulations, Hope Giver.
Congratulations, Hope Giver. So remember to DM me before this is over. Otherwise, you will not get your $10. And yes, that rule applies to Hope Giver. Now, for anyone who does know, Hope Giver's mom. So, hey, she runs by the same rules as everybody else. I play no favorites. So, good dance off. Rose, I'm sorry you were so close.
I know. She came in second place right there, and it's funny because she was like, I don't know what to vote for. Because I sent her the link, got her in your Discord. She's like, I don't know what to vote for. And I was like, well, whichever one you feel like, because that's how it works. And, I told her about how it enters her in the drawing and everything like that. I'm like, you never know, you might win. And I told her, I'm like, there's actually some people that I know who they didn't have any fiat to put into crypto, or they're from a country where their banks won't let them because there are countries like that. And they started building their portfolio. They couldn't even DCA in. All they could do was enter every single contest possible, or those Zealies that some Discords do often give out prizes. They would farm that. They would work in the space to start earning crypto, from giveaways, contests, etc., and build up a portfolio that way. So there's many different ways to earn in the crypto space and get your start, even if you're in a place in life or locality where you can't necessarily get money to crypto.
Yep, I would agree. And one of my favorite saying is the only limitations that exist are the ones you put on yourself. There's always a way. Get creative. And all you have to do is have the passion to do it. And you can find a way to do pretty much anything.
Yep.
So, see, Funny Troll says, congrats, Hope Giver. So, okay, now we get to the fun time here, Cyril. So, how we doing so far, buddy? It's been an interesting week. Where do we stand?
It has. Let me go ahead and share the screen. 1 second.
It's always a fun time. Because, see, guys, I never get to know until we get here. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't let Cyril know the vote either.
It's true. I don't tell them until hand. So, last week was week 22. We started the week with $530.65. We ended the week with $553.88. So that gives us a profit of $23.23. Nice. We got duels there, or 4.19%. So we did pretty good. We added our 25. We're going to find out how we deploy it here shortly. So we're starting this week off at 578.88. As you can see here, let's take a quick peek at our investment. So you remember we have Elephant and WBNB in their LP pool. Currently our holding there is worth $41.65. We have some of our mass tokens staked in the Momentum Finance platform, and we have 34 cents of BUSD that we can claim. So that's what brings us up to our holdings. As you can see, our investments, it used to be a tiny little slice. It's growing because of that. Investments is things that we're actively farming, yield farming, etc. Spot is just when we're holding the token.
Okay. So spot right now is our biggest one, but our investments, which are actually actively growing. Now, that's how much of this pie do we want to be an actively growing versus a spot?
Well, ideally, if you can find different things like that, where you can put your money in and not have to like lock it up, it's great to have your money there. The more money that you can have working for you, the better, because you need to think of every dollar in your possession as an employee of yours. And if that employee is not actively earning you money, then due to the rate of inflation, it's costing you money. You know, there's an overhead for owning a dollar, and that overhead has been high as of late with all this inflation. So, you know, if it's not actively earning you more than what inflation is detracting from your purchasing power, it's not a valuable employee. So have as much money as possible in the actively working for you.
Gotcha. Okay. And no, that makes sense. I have no idea what all that says. Sorry, I will check that 1 second.
Just delete it.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Where is DeFi?
Not doing his job, apparently.
Apparently. Come on, DeFi. What are you doing, brother? Hey, it's not giving me the delete right now. That's odd.
Because it's posted on Twitch.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. We will go back and edit that. Anyway, so really, this is one of those times when we start looking at people and say, okay, you're just putting your money in the bank in a savings account that's getting 0.5% per year or something like that. It's actually, they're actually losing money essentially based on the inflation rate. Is that correct?
Yes. Which means they have a company filled with employees costing them money, and that's it.
God, yeah. I know that feeling. I've been there, so I got it. So, hey, J-Pip, good to have you with us, buddy. Okay, so that's a great thing. So we really want to broaden out that red slice of investments to where it should be at least half or more, really, if we're doing this right.
It's a little different here in the crypto space because our spot investments are in like our blue chips, which are appreciating in value. It's in our the DeFi projects that we've invested in, which is appreciating in value. So as long as those are appreciating in value at a rate that exceeds the rate of inflation in whatever country you're located in, it's okay to hold it as spot. Investments, ones that are farming and whatnot, can tend to take a little bit more time to liquidate, or maybe you got a little more, maybe there's a fee to withdraw it. You know, and so those are things you have to factor in. So it's not in crypto, it's not a bad thing to hold it as just spot.
Okay. So it sounds good. And that's the great thing. We've got to definitely define the difference between traditional finances and crypto finances, because there are some variations here.
Absolutely.
Okay. And so I'm going to agree on two questions. First one is, what is our slowest performer to date?
Let me see. Let's take a look at our spot. I know that we are down on Mass and Oburn since we bought. We're down on both of those on cost average, but that has been exceeded by the other ones that we're invested in. So that's the whole point of balancing, and why you have to be mindful how much of this pie each individual investment makes up. If the pie slice is too big, and that's an asset that might not necessarily be performing great right now, then it's going to hold the rest of your portfolio back more than it should. You know, and that's why I started vetoing things that we have too much of, you know,
Right.
Because you got to spread that risk out across the 5 to 6 that you're invested in.
Okay. Now, let me ask you real quick, because I know we've covered this before, and I know what you're going to say, but I want to make sure it's out there in the audience so they know this as well. So let's say Only Birds. Now, it's got one of the biggest chunks of our pie, but it is one of the lowest performers. Is that a good time to say, hey, this isn't doing well? Maybe I should just sell that and put it into something else? Or should we wait till our solvency to the 50%? Is there a time to veto that rule, or is that just the strategic investing rules?
So it's all going to, there's two answers to that, right? There's the personal answer, and then there's the answer of the solvency rules that we're following here at Rags to Riches for this investment exercise. Personal, you need to determine what is my comfortable level of risk, right? Like, how much am I willing to let any particular asset depreciate in value before I decide to sell it and cut my losses, right? Figure out what that number is to you. Are you comfortable riding something to zero? If so, investing is probably not for you.
Good answer. Okay.
But, so find out what that is. Is that 20%? Is that 50%? What is that? I need to look elsewhere, take my L and deploy my capital into something else. What is that limit for you? And then in our situation here, we're following a set of rules that we laid out before we even started this. If an asset hits that negative, if it drops 50% in value, then we cut our loss. We move the money into something else. That's the rules that we're following, because crypto, especially the smaller DeFi caps, they have a tendency to be very volatile. They can have big price swings. And so you might have a crypto that's down 20% in a day, but then shoots up 30% tomorrow for a net 10% gain. And so that's why we set it at 50%. Usually if an asset bleeds 50% off, it's probably going to be a while before it recovers. It will most likely, due to community sentiment, they're going to panic sell. So it's probably going to fall further than that. So it's a good part, just take your L, cash out, sit on the sidelines, maybe roll it over into something else that has been doing well. But that's where you have to also balance out the how much has it gone up, don't buy the top, that kind of thing. So case by case.
Okay. But now that also brings about the opposite side of that coin is it's really easy to chase the dragon or to chase the rainbow. So whatever you want to call your chasing is, this one dropped 10%, but this one went up 10%. Quick, sell this and buy more of this. Then you're buying at the top. And so that's like counterproductive as well, right?
Right. Which is one of the reasons why we just have that 50% drop cutoff. That way we're not trying to chase, because if you're chasing, it's important to remember you're not in front, right? Because you're chasing.
Right.
So if you're chasing, you're late. That's why you pick the assets that you're picking for your research reasons, and then you're sticking with it come what may. But for this exercise, we set that hard cap at a 50% drop.
Okay. And so far, it's serving us pretty well. I got to admit. I mean, right now, our whole portfolio, we're up quite a bit, given the rest of the market. I mean, the market is not nearly as well off as we are. Why didn't they listen to us?
they just, DCA, or we've been DCAing. They did their lump buy, okay. Unless you get lucky enough to lump buy near the bottom, which you're probably not going to, you're always better off DCAing.
Absolutely. Okay, so shall we see what they voted for this week?
Well, yes, let's do that.
Let's do it. Okay, let's bring it up. So you guys, in all your wisdom, put our votes. Why does my screen look so? I probably broke something, guys. Sorry. Is that still readable?
Yeah.
Okay. So our blue chips we're setting at ETH at 5. Looks like ETH is top with 5 votes.
I guess we're getting more ETH.
It is good, solid blue chip there. And then I'm trying to see around my microphone. Looks like DeFi. Looks like collective finance came in top voter with 4 votes this week. Tonice.
That's why I said it's a good thing Chrome's here, because collective finance is Sea Gold, which is the token that's pegged to valuation of gold, or like a gram of it. Yeah, gram of gold.
1 gram, 1 troy gram of gold. Very important to know the difference. So, if you look into collective finance, the first thing you're going to realize, like, okay, a gram and a troy-gram, they're not the same. Man, that confused the hell out of me for about 3 hours. So I figured, wait a minute, precious metals, they're weighed differently.
Yep.
That was already used. So Ethereum and collective finance. Good job, boys and girls. And the voting polls are open right now. So go in, cast your votes right now before you forget about it like everybody does. Like, oh, man, I should cast my vote. Do it right now.
And I do want to point something out before you take this down here.
Yes,
so you know how I'm always talking about different, when the price is pumping, that's what people want to buy.
right.
I just want to point out the two things selected. So for both our blue chip and for our DeFi are things that have, out of everything else on the lists, I believe they've gone up the largest percentage within the last week. So I just want to point that out. You can see
I'm
right
guessing
there.
Solana?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
I'm saying the ones that were voted for. They were the ones that went up the most.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. Percentage wise, they're the ones that went up the most because collective finance, C gold went up quite a bit in the last week. It's
Right.
back to almost 2,000 per ounce. That's significant.
Right.
And then ETH, percentage wise, I believe overall it went up a little bit more than BTC did. Yeah, so that's just showing right there in live action that people tend to gravitate towards the things that are up the most, right?
Okay.
And that's how they wind up getting caught buying the top.
Okay, so that's one to really watch for. Now, that's an interesting concept. Now, let me ask, do you think there will ever be a time when we say, no, this thing just went through a 30% pump in the last week, we can't buy this one, and that'll be vetoed? Do you ever see that happening?
So I don't think so, because ultimately, the only thing that I veto is if it is a bad decision for the whole of our portfolio, right? If people are going to go vote for something, they want to, this week we're going to put $20 in this. That's okay. It's not going to affect the whole portfolio, right? But if we start having an investment that's getting a much, much, much bigger piece of the pie, it tends to affect the whole portfolio more. And so I have to step in and say, no, we got too much, pick something else, or, if the vote ties or whatnot, then I break the tie, but we're still picking what they went for, right? We didn't really want to interfere with what you guys are all voting for. The only time that we are going to here is if it is a really bad decision for the portfolio as a whole. I'm okay with letting you guys pick one week where something I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's going to crash, because ultimately it's your picks. I mean, yeah, it's my money, but it's your picks. So
But at the same time, this is one of those where we really get to educate by real world experiences. And, granted, sorry, I'm happy to throw whatever money I can. I'm going to sell a child. I'll figure it out. No, and that's, Saul and I talked about this in the beginning. We know that we're probably not going to get rich off this, nor do we plan to. We want to give you guys a real world education that doesn't cost you a dime. In fact, you can come in and dance and vote and hopefully win some and follow us on this journey and hopefully make some money. That's our goal. But yeah, just like JFIP says, there's likely to be a pullback on Ethereum. Yeah, there really is.
Yeah, it's too far away from the moving averages on the 4-hour chart, and the moving averages, they're like gravity. And I'm not going to dig into that because we got like 4 minutes, but just toss some moving averages on the charts like the MA50, 100, and 200. Go look at it on like the 30-minute, the 1 hour, and the 4-hour, and you'll see what I mean. If you don't, maybe we'll talk about it a little bit more next week. The topic could be charting. We'll see.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. And well, Wild Angel, hey, I'm glad you finally made it. You're going to have to go back and rewatch because, yeah, we're right at closing here. But we're glad you made it here. And Funny Churl says, my vote was for ETH before they currently run. Just like DC. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, Funny Churl. And yeah, that's the thing is if you vote today, you don't know what's going to happen in 3 to 4 days. There may be a huge spike or a huge drop. And so that's the great thing about cryptos. We don't really know what the future holds. All we can do is our best guesses based on education, experience, and strategic investing. That's what we're trying to teach here, guys.
Educated guessing. That's pretty much all that any kind of investing ever is. Educated guessing. Unless, of course, you're a politician.
Yeah, then you know because you made it happen. That's called manipulation, and I think that's illegal. But yeah, who am I to say? So, hey, everybody, I want to say thank you so much for your time. And Cyril, brother, always a pleasure, my man. And your knowledge and your experience is absolutely priceless. Thanks for tuning in and being a part of this great, amazing journey.
Yeah, always fun being here. Always fun chatting with everybody. And, hopefully, you've been learning through the process. I know, some episodes we have more educational content. Sometimes it's more news-based. But, we like to keep it kind of loose format and see where the night takes us. And, that's part of how you guys, just like you're shaping our Rags to Riches portfolio, you get to help kind of shape the show. You decide what you want to know. You decide what you want to talk about. And you can always post to the Discord, hey, I'd like to have an answer to this question next show, and we're always happy to address it. So be sure you join the Discord. Be sure you vote because the votes matter. You guys shape things. And, it enters you in that drawing. You get to do a little dance off, maybe be the last survivor. And, so we'll see you guys next week.
There you go. And everyone, thank you. And as always, the only thing I ever ask is hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and tell your friends about us. Let's help change the world together. So thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Take care.
Bye-bye.